Good morning, this is Mark. It is 9/11/2019. 18 years, I didn't realize this until I looked at the clock, 18 years after September 11th, 2001. This is the 11th of September, 2019, almost 4 o'clock in the morning. I have witches around me. They use porch lights to represent numerology. If they want something, they use the symbolism of numerology and the porch lights they turn on to affect something in life, in my life. There was a witch around here. She would tell me things that I didn't tell other people. I would think about cleaning, and I didn't say anything out loud. So if my words are being recorded in this apartment, and if you don't say anything, the government will get you for that. If you say what you think, the government will get you for that. The government the government acknowledges there are psychics that they use, but they don't call them witches. They said they use them to solve murders. They'll tell people where a body is, supposedly. That's the story anyway. Witches around me, they use porch lights. Apparently they can read minds. That can get you locked away. When you say, it's just like Salem, Massachusetts. There was somebody named John Todd who was supposed to be one of these people. And he said, in Salem, Massachusetts, during the witch trials, the witches would call the Christians witches and call themselves Christians. I had, and if you were to say that person's a witch, you would get into trouble because they would call themselves Christians and say, well, you're crazy, for thinking this person's a witch. I had a dream, and I woke up at 3:13. 3 is the devil's hour. 3 a.m. is the devil's hour. 12 o'clock p.m., 12 o'clock a.m., as many people know, is the witch's hour. So I woke up at 3:13, representing the Christ and the Antichrist. I had a dream about a teacher. He wanted me to go to bed with him. He offered me to go to bed with him. It was a man. It was a teacher in junior high school. And this teacher gave me, in the dream, a canvas. And I used to do very little painting. I used to have canvases. It really isn't my thing. He gave me a canvas and said, paint whatever you want on it. So I went to my own part of the building. I guess it was an apartment building, and it was looking at the easel, or looking at the canvas, and found on the back of it a note from my mother. It was supposed to be on my 14th birthday or something. I was 14 when she gave it to me, and my teacher had it. And so I guess that was the dream. I'd be interested in interpretations. The teacher used to mock me with the other students in his class. He put on a song back in junior high school when I was just pubescent. And it was a song, I think it was called The Funny Farm. The song goes, they're going to take me away, or they're coming to take me away. They're coming to take me away to the funny farm where life is beautiful all the time. And he was smiling, I think, when he played the song for the class. I didn't know why he played it at the time. But later on in college, they started talking about mental institutions as well. And they were smiling and joking. I didn't know they planned to put me into a mental institution. When I was a freshman in college at Judson University, now it was Judson College, in Elgin, Illinois, around Chicago. Supposedly, a man broke out of a nearby mental institution. Before this happened, people said there's a mental institution. I think before this happens, people said there's a mental hospital or a mental institution nearby. And somebody supposedly broke out of the mental institution. I don't know why our door was unlocked. I couldn't figure that out. But apparently, somebody from a mental institution came into the dorm room, supposedly. I think it was a government, setup. I think it was a government setup to imply what would happen to me. So I think somebody said there was a mental institution around there. I don't know how he knew that. Close by to the university or the college at the time. And he supposedly escaped, and he came into our room, shut the door, and went into a closet, the closet nearest the door. I don't think I told anybody this outside of the college. And he was making noises with his mouth. He was he was breathing heavily, and just, he seemed very upset. And then some other men came into our dorm room and opened the closet and pulled him out. I guess supposedly they saw him come into our dorm room, and they were chasing him. And he was saying some stuff like, no, no, or something like that. And they pulled him out of the closet. I think he closed the door when he went in the closet. I don't know how they knew he was in that closet. Maybe they heard him just breathing. But I think it was all a setup. And they pulled him out and took him out of our dorm room at night, when we were all in bed. And they took him away, and and we started talking about, well, there's a mental institution around here or something. They said he was probably from the mental institution or something, and I don't know why someone would think that, with that happening. I guess it's assumable. And That's what happened there. We were talking to each other while we were in bed. I was on the top bunk. Somebody was underneath me, and there were two bunks on the other side of the room. We had two dorm rooms with a bathroom in between. And I was in a picture with one of the students that I was with, one of the students that was my roommate. His mother had her hand on her leg, and her pinky finger was in like this, like that, representing something. And I thought, well, did she not have a pinky finger? It was representing something. This is the Mercury finger, which represents young males. Because Mercury is a young male who was the messenger who ran around the sun in mythology, just like Mercury goes around the sun and completes its circuit in 88 days. This video could get me into deep trouble, because I'm talking about people that I'm not supposed to be talking about, and I'm talking about things that I know that they would say are a delusion. The Bible says, "See, he comes from prison to reign." In the Bible, it talks about the righteous person that goes to jail and becomes king. And they say, "See, he comes from prison to reign." Had another teacher in high school that told that he used the devil sign, which is a pinky sign and the index finger together. It's like the Sieg Heil sign, except for the middle finger and the ring finger are in. They hold the middle finger and the ring finger back, and you can look it up. The devil sign. It's on the internet, at least it was last I saw, and it would talk about the devil sign, and it's used to hypnotize people. He hypnotized the entire class. My teacher, maybe in 11th grade, and he told the children that I molested, he said, babies. And he told me to do drugs. And he wrote on the board J-E-R-K, and he underlined, he said jerk, and he pointed at me and he said, "You're a jerk." I just said something in class, because he was insulting Martin Luther King Jr. in front of the whole class. One of the students was black, and he told this class that I molested little babies. And one of the students the black student looked at me with this very angry expression on her face. He told me to smoke and do drugs. And I said, "I won't do drugs, sir." And he said, "Don't call me sir, insult me." He said, he used the devil sign at me, and he said, "I order you to insult me." And he said, "Who's the most popular kid in school?" And he said the name. And he said, "Why don't you insult?" And he said the name. He had power over us. And he said something, I don't remember what it was. And I said, I don't think you have authority to do that. And he said, oh, I have great authority. So that was the dream. And that was a little bit of reality. As they say, a reality is stranger than fiction. If people say witches don't exist, they're lying. They usually know. They're usually the witches that say witches don't exist. The same people that said the Christians were witches in Salem, Massachusetts. There are witches on YouTube. You can look them up. Just look up witches or witch or spells. There are witches on YouTube. I think that they know it's just not a practice. It actually works. A lot of times it works. God bless. Have a great morning. I'll upload this pretty soon. And people can see it when they wake up. Again, there are witches around me. And there are witches in real life. There are also Christians in real life. It's not just churches. Churches like to think that, or like to say that they are the Christians. Same thing with Salem, Massachusetts. The witches like to say that they are Christians. There are witches in church. This should be, to older people, this should be common knowledge, even to the Christian, that there are witches in church. People that are near my age, in their 40s, should know there are witches in church. They cast spells on the congregation. The preacher is there to cast a spell on the congregation. If you look at the Catholic Church, it's clear that there's paganism in it. Paganism has to do with witchcraft. They used to sacrifice children, and of course they still sacrifice children. And that's what Halloween is about. We celebrate a satanic holiday. And churches get people into trouble. If you look at Catholicism, it's clear it's pagan. It's clear it's pagan. There was a book by Frank Viola. It might have been by somebody else. By Frank Viola at least. It might have been added a second author, called Pagan Christianity. There's a reason it is called, the book's called Pagan Christianity. There's a reason we practice pagan practices in church. God bless.